Today we're going to talk about a man who challenged an idea that had been set in stone for over 1,400 years. Using just math and careful observation, he completely changed how we see our place in the universe. So let's get into the story of Nicolaus Copernicus. For centuries, it was just a fact, as real as the ground you're standing on. Everything in the heavens revolved around us, around Earth. So what does it take for one person to stand up and tell the entire world that everything they think they know is wrong? To really get how revolutionary Copernicus was, you have to understand the world he lived in. It was a world that saw the cosmos in a totally different way than we do now. For more than 1,000 years, this was the accepted truth, the geocentric model. The name comes from geo, which means Earth. It basically put a stationary Earth right at the center of everything. And, it kind of made sense. When you look up, the sun and the stars all seem to be moving, while you feel perfectly still. Now, this wasn't just some scientific theory. Oh no, this was a fundamental truth backed by the most powerful institutions of the time, especially the church. So to question it, well, that wasn't just bad science, it was seen as a direct challenge to the whole social and religious order. But there was a big problem, a glitch in the system. Astronomers kept noticing that some planets, like Mars, would be moving along just fine, then they'd slow down, stop, and actually appear to move backward for a while before going forward again. The geocentric model needed incredibly complex math, with all these weird circles spinning on top of other circles, just to explain this one strange movement. It was this puzzle, this really overly complicated system, that set the stage for our quiet challenger, a man who just thought, you know what? Nature should be simpler than this. So who was this guy? Nicolaus Copernicus got a fantastic education. He studied everything from law to medicine, but his real passion, that was the stars. While in Italy, he became a really skilled astronomer, carefully measuring the positions of the planets night after night. And that training gave him both the tools and the confidence he needed to start questioning what everyone else just accepted as fact. Now, what's really important to get about Copernicus is that he wasn't trying to be a troublemaker. He was driven by this deep belief in simplicity. He looked at the messy, complicated math of the geocentric model and just thought, no way. Nature is more elegant than this. There has to be a simpler answer. And that hunt for a simpler explanation led him to a radical, world-changing idea, an idea that would literally build a whole new solar system. He called it the heliocentric model. Helios is the Greek word for sun, which gives you a clue. In this brand new system, the sun was the star of the show, sitting right in the middle. And Earth, well, Earth got knocked off its throne. It was just another planet, rotating on its axis once a day and orbiting the sun once a year. Copernicus even got the order of the known planets right. He put speedy Mercury closest to the sun, then Venus, then us on Earth, followed by Mars, Jupiter, and slow-moving Saturn. And in doing so, he figured out a basic rule of the cosmos. The farther a planet is from the sun, the longer it takes to complete its orbit. Simple. When you put the two models side by side, the difference is just night and day. Geocentric, still Earth, super complex. Heliocentric, sun in the middle, Earth in motion, and all of a sudden the math became way, way simpler. And that new simplicity wasn't just nice to look at. It solved the biggest puzzle that had been driving astronomers crazy for hundreds of years. So let's put a name to this problem. It's called retrograde motion. That's the official term for that bizarre illusion where a planet seems to hit reverse against the backdrop of the stars. Ptolemy's old model needed all these extra loops and circles just to make it work. But Copernicus, he had a much cleaner answer. His explanation is something we can all totally get today. Just imagine you're in a car on the highway, and you're about to pass a slower car in the lane next to you. For just a moment, as you go by, doesn't it look like that slower car is actually moving backward? Of course you know it's not. It's just an illusion created by your own motion. And that is exactly what's happening in space. Earth is on a faster, inside track compared to planets like Mars or Jupiter. So as we lap them in our yearly orbit, they appear to move backward for a little while from our point of view. The planets themselves never actually change direction. It's all an illusion. And just like that, the problem that had plagued astronomy for centuries was solved. No more complicated math needed. So Copernicus had this mind-blowing, incredible theory. But actually sharing it with the world, well, that was a whole other story. Look, Copernicus knew his ideas were dangerous. They completely contradicted the powerful church, and he could have gotten into serious trouble. So, for almost 30 years, he kept it to himself, working in private, checking and rechecking every single calculation. It was only at the very end of his life that a good friend finally convinced him to publish his masterpiece. The book came out in 1543, the very same year he died. He never got to see the revolution that he started. The reaction was pretty much immediate, and wow, was it intense. For other scientists, the math was just too elegant to ignore. It was a total game changer. But for the church, it was heresy. They argued that it kicked humanity out of its special place at the center of God's creation, and his book was actually banned for many years. Because of that, public acceptance was incredibly slow. But here's the thing, you just can't stop a great idea. Despite the ban, despite all the controversy, Copernicus's book laid the foundation for everything we now call the scientific revolution. The greatest scientific minds of the next generation built their work directly on his. You had Johannes Kepler, who tweaked the model to show that planets orbit in ovals or ellipses, not perfect circles. You had Galileo Galilei, who used his new telescope to find actual visual proof that supported Copernicus. And all of that led to Sir Isaac Newton, who finally explained why the planets move the way they do with his universal theory of gravity. So, what's his ultimate legacy? Copernicus did way more than just shuffle the planets around. He changed our entire perspective. He showed us that we're not the center of everything, but that we're actually a small part of a much larger, much grander universe. His story is just this powerful reminder that even the things we believe most strongly can be overturned by evidence and a whole lot of courage. He proved that one person with one new idea can change how we see everything, which kind of makes you wonder, right? What big idea that we all accept as true today is just waiting to be challenged next?